Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hey, what's going on, everyone? I see we got Steve in here, I believe. He said he was here. If you want to post your name in the chat, let me know who's watching right now. We can get straight to it. While I'm waiting on that, make sure we're set. We're good to go. All right. All right. Think we're set for this edition of Coffee and Stocks. Since the market is closed for President's Day, I wanted to. Good morning, Steve, by the way. Glad to have you here, man. One of our troopers here at Millennial Investments. But with the market being closed today, I wanted to look at some of our trades that we have out right now to give updates on them. We have about 82 of them, so updating them has been a challenge and keeping them up to date. As long as they're not dying, as far as, going in the red too far, we're letting them run for now. But we will be going through this session, spending as much time as possible on, looking over those trades. We got somebody else in here. If you'll place your name in the chat, please be sure to do that, so I can know who I'm talking to. Also, you should be able to find links in the description in order to find us on all of our social media networks, so we can connect where you prefer to connect with us at. We're on Facebook, Twitter. We work with Investors Talk Discord. We have somebody else in here. If you could place your name in the chat, let me know who I'm talking to. That'd be great. You may hear me say that going throughout this live stream, so I can address everybody, appropriately. While you're in the chat too, if there's any particular stocks you want to look at, don't hesitate to place it in the chat, and I will fit them in. I'm more focused on the stocks that y'all are interested in, because we already provide information on the stocks that we have. So I will be more than willing to stop where I'm at going over the trades we have to look at yours as we move throughout the session. I don't know how long I'm going to spend on this. We can't trade today, so I'm open. We are currently experiencing a polar vortex, so I'm from Louisiana, and we see snow every 3 to 5 years, and apparently we have a whiteout for the second time this year. And we will be huddled up in the house, basically watching or reviewing our stocks and trades today. So, like I said, please be sure to comment in the chat what your name is, so I know who I'm talking to. We got Steve in here. We may have some of our Discord members coming over, some of our Facebook members throughout the session. I'm going to be posting this throughout Twitter to see if we can get some new followers, new members in here to come join us. So I'll be here and there. Steve, was there any trades you wanted to look over? Feel free to let me know, and we can start there. Let's see. I did have one request for solo that I'm gonna probably start off with before I even get into my my own trades, and that's based off of one of our members from our Facebook group chat, that is. So we'll definitely be looking at that here in a second. Let me push some of these promos out real quick, if y'all don't mind, before I get into that, so we can get some people rolling in here. Make it worthwhile. Of course, I'm still going to do this whether or not we have a lot of people join us. We had a great turnout on Saturday. We do this on Saturdays as well. Coffee and Stocks. We'll spend about an hour or so. And oh yes, I alerted on tech. I have some faith in tech. We'll definitely look at that. But we spent about an hour Saturday morning looking over stocks. We reviewed mostly user stocks. I was going to take time to make sure this all worked properly on that day, and focus on, the trades we have open. We have some more members in here. If you'll place your name in the chat, let me know who I'm talking to. If you have any stock symbols you want to review during this coffee and stock session, feel free to drop it in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and get started. But like I was saying, on Saturdays, we will be doing a probably 10 a.m. session on stock reviews for about an hour. And then on Sundays, we'll have Facebook calls or Discord calls to recap and be ready for that following Monday, as long as there's a trading session that Monday, if not Monday, Tuesday. But to get started, we had a request to review Solo. Solo's looking pretty good right now. Just looking at the chart, as you can see, we're currently, let me get some of these, I was reviewing this trade last night, and I'm going to start from scratch with it so you can see how we kind of go through the process of identifying our trends. I typically do not use diagonal trend lines, I'll tell you that, but I'm just identifying the current trend line that we're riding on. This is on the daily chart, by the way. So moving forward, stock's currently sitting at 794. Let me go ahead and pull that up on my TDA account so I can get any fundamental information, any news on the stock here. Let me get that set up real quick. So pull my light down. All right, it looks like we got some news coming out on Solo. This company is Electrameccanica, I guess is how you say that. Vehicle Corp. Shares started moving at the same time as Spike and AYRO shares. Both companies are providers of electrical vehicles. That's what we're looking at. Hey, Pascal, glad to have you again. Pascal was with us Saturday. Wonderful. Yeah, make some coffee, man. Let's get to the chat and let's get straight to it today. I'm glad you were back. Glad to see some returning members. I'm glad to see Steve here. But to get back on Solo, regardless of the news, I typically take fundamentals into account. I typically take trends into account, but there's certain things that I identify that raise my comfort levels within trades. And starting that out is, I always look at the middle of the chart and I begin identifying my levels of resistance. We'll mark that as green because, as you can see with Solo, our previous level of resistance around the $6 price range became our new support, which is what we call a resistance to support reversal. And as you can see, that stock broke out to $6 back here in July of 20, consolidated for the remainder of the year, began breaking back out in the early November time frames, broke back up here, had some large price action and price gaps here, retested that $6 range, broke through it, and we consolidated back on the $6 level. That's where our initial reversal to support occurred, allowing for the stock to continue finding momentum upwards. We peaked out at its top at 1360, but it looks like on this day we actually rested on the 1081. I'm going to get rid of that 1081 because the 1360 is our top level of resistance that we'll be looking at here moving forward. So we have a $6 wide price range here that we're trading within. Looks like we found strong support here to confirm that we will continue trading in this price range. The stock is currently showing that we will potentially retest that 1081. The fact that it actually reached up to 1360 may be because of the momentum it had behind the stock, but I would look at this 1081 as a key level of resistance, but not our top level of resistance. We have 6 viewers in here. Glad to have everybody. If you would, go ahead and add your name in the chat and any stocks you want to review. And if you have some coffee, feel free to join me in some coffee. I'm going to slowly be doing that as we go through and people start to join into the chat. This is something new we're doing. It's called Coffee and Stocks, where we review your trades and we review our trades that we have out as well. Much more important that we review yours to give you some information regarding the stocks that you're looking at on your own, and help identifying key levels of resistance and support to determine our price ranges going in here. Yes, the Ichimoku cloud, I always say it wrong, is actually something very interesting that I'm looking at myself, incorporating into my own trend analysis. Of course, I haven't based any of my own trend analysis off of that in the past, but based off what we discussed Saturday, Dylan brought some great attention to how it can assist us in determining our entry points and our exits as well, or when not to buy for the time period. Gary, I saw that you wanted to talk about Nio. I'm actually a fan of Nio. I've been doing a lot of in and out calls on it to potentially get some positions on it. I will add it to our watch list, as you can see over here. If you have any other stocks, guys, feel free to add it in this YouTube chat or whatever platform that you're on. Feel free to direct message me or message me in them, and then we'll go over them. But back to Solo. One of our members, Antoine, wanted me to look at this. He requested it last night. So, like I was saying, coming off the $6 support level that we have now found, which was previously resistance, it's most likely going to become a very strong support level moving forward, providing us with a platform to build off of going forward and higher. I mean, the current trend line, as far as the diagonal trend line, looks pretty strong back to the upside, where we could potentially retest that 1080 and break out and go back to the 1360. If we do that, you're looking at almost close to 100% trade. I have a spreadsheet pulled up here where I will be able to do some quick calculations of our percent margin. So let's do it this way. I'm going to move it over here for now. That way you guys can look at the chart while I do some calculations real quick. If we retest the 1081 right now on this trade particularly, we're looking at a 36% gain on the trade. Now, if we go back to the 1360, we'll be potentially looking at a 71% profit gain. If you were to get into this trade going into Monday, what I am going to do is bring in some of my indicators. So this may be confusing to some people. Don't let it bother you. LSPD and GMIA. I like GMIA. I think that's an African telecommunication stock. I looked at back in the middle of 2020, and I'd be more than happy to look at it again. I don't currently own a position on it, but we will add it to our list to look at. Let's finish with Solo first. Solo, let me bring in my indicators so I can know what I'm seeing here. All right, just to look at it right here, we found strong buying volume. This is a volume profile on this right side. It shows me where most of the shares were bought. As you can see, we're currently building a new platform of buying volume in this 794 price level, which is great going forward, to let you know that people have stake in it at this higher price point. And then also something to take into account is that although we saw a lot of selling volume here, we didn't see large spikes as much as the buying volume, which were pretty much the catalyst into the stock going forward. This is an EV play, which rides along with the Biden administration pushing for EVs. You know, there's 45,000 vehicles that he's looking to convert over. Something that I would like to add to the EV plays is focusing on lithium batteries, which is something that my partner Dylan has been pushing on the trading team. And something else that we discussed in last night's Facebook call is charging stations. You're going to need charging stations for these to account for the ability to charge all of these vehicles, if not simultaneously, but in a synchronized fashion. So BLNK is a good company to look at for that. So I'm going to add it to the list myself. There's another company called EVGO. EVGO is what I call it, or EVGO. That's another charging station platform, and there's another one I'd have to look up the symbol for, but that it all correlates. Batteries are going to be a large focus on this, because you got to think about it. Running batteries at this rate, you're going to need a lot of replacements. So I'm going to add RMO, which is the stock that we actually alerted on last week. and it kind of pulled back on us, but we still have faith in it longer term. Of course, we're 20 to 30 day time frame in the stocks that we share, so it has time to reverse and continue moving forward. But like I said with Solo, what I would be watching for here is how we do going into this 1081 price range. And these green lines are something like the Moku cloud analysis, but it's our EMAs, and that's what I focus most of my trades off of to determine my entries, or whether, basically the direction of the stock moving forward. Okay. All right. Thank you for the correction on GMIA. I had looked into it a little bit, but not too deep. But back to the EMAs. So that's what you're looking at here. I have zigzags in there. That's kind of irrelevant. I'm not going to get into that too well. And then this, what you see right here, is showing how our buying volume compares to our sell volume. What's up, Pandy? Glad to have you here, man. Glad to see you participating with us in our coffee and stock sessions. I want to let y'all know we'll be doing this every Saturday for sure, with President's Day being down, the markets being down. I want to take time to get ready for the rest of the week. Since it's a shorter week, we have to make our plays a little more precise going into it. But, looking at Solo, I'm not saying to buy in right now. We have some strong support, $6. But, that 194, actually, Pandy, this is the EV play that we're looking at now, and I will add Blackberry to it. We actually alerted on Blackberry not too long ago. I'm not sure we have that stock still open. I can check real quick. I think I ended up, nope, we have BBD. I think I closed the Blackberry trade because it wasn't performing. But going into this, let me pull up some more of my indicators. Let's see where we sit on our RSI. RSI being your relative strength index. What this does is it shows you, that's this right here, it shows you where the stock is selling, or where the value of the stock is compared to the rest of the market that it sits in. We're currently sitting pretty well around the 50% levels, which is pretty ideal. As you see, we keep bouncing off of that and going higher. So this has some room to the upside. On my MACD, it's showing that we could have a compression or a pullback to the $6 area, but based on the trend, it looks like we still have some momentum to the upside. So we'll be looking for a compression here around the 1081 if we were to place a position on it ourselves. Let's look at it on a lower time frame, and that'll give us some more detail on how we could potentially open up Monday. So going into Friday, we see a lot of people selling here. But if you look here, this is a nice indicator here at the bottom, where we see it going green on the MACD, but also the volume flow index is right there peaked with it. And what we typically see with our breakouts is when those two are touching and connecting, and then we're showing a swing to the upside here, like you see, then we're most likely going to be seeing this bounce up to the upside. So we could at least see this retest the let's see what this is right here. We'll potentially retest the 972 and then that 1081 level that we were looking at earlier. But we're finding strong support along this trend line. Going into it tomorrow, make sure that we don't break below that. We are currently above Thursday's close from Friday's trading session. So it's looking pretty strong here. As you can see, the volume profile indicates that we have a lot of buying or transactional trades taken here. And moving forward, we should be good here. So we're gonna look for it. To sum this up, we're gonna look for it to hit those 9. What did I just say? The 9. Let me go back in here. I'll go ahead and drop a line here. And as you can see, this is why we do horizontal trend lines, because it shows you the price range that you're trading within, and you can determine your entry. So like this would be a great entry point as long as it doesn't break below its close from Friday or Thursday, and below where it's at on Friday, which is currently at $8 in the after hours market on Friday. So if we come into an open on Tuesday, excuse me, and you can see here we're seeing a pop upwards, although we saw some equal buying and selling volume in the after hours, sorry. So it's not necessarily signals of selling, but as you can see on the 10-minute chart, we are seeing some strong selling spikes in the volume there. So be wary of that. Watch for how it opens pre-market, and then just because it performs in pre-market doesn't mean it can't die out market open. So be be cautious of that going into pre-market. Market open Tuesday. If we break up, then we're going to retest those 972s, and then we'll be trading between the 972 if we find support above it with the resistance to support reversal to then retest the 1081, moving higher. But like I said, even if it hits the 1081, we're looking at a I think I said 36% swing. If we retest the 1360 here, then we're looking at a potential 71% profit gain off the trade. And that's currently where it's at now in this continuation pattern. To go on to the next request, we're looking at TECK or TECK. It's currently, we alerted on this stock. Let me pull my alert information up on it. TECK. We alerted on the stock on February 11th. The stock was sitting at 1959, and we were looking for it to retest the 2605 levels. And I'm gonna pull all this info out so we can actually look at the trade, at the stock price. So let's see, make sure we're situated. Pull this up. We're currently closing above the 1971. I'm reading my messages at the same time. Sorry, guys. Currently sitting above the 1971 levels, which is 5 cents above where we initially alerted on the stock. We were looking at it to retest the 26 based off of the weekly time frame, and that's how I'm going to review this trade moving forward. So like I said, I always go in and I either identify my resistance levels. Let me remove my drawings so we can do it from scratch, and you guys can see how I'm kind of basing my trades and getting the performance that we are. So I'm going to turn that green because that was a previous support. I'm going to drop this and make it red because that's our high point of resistance. And then I want to come in here, and as you can see, this is a key level at the 25.79. I'm going to make that orange because that's our second level resistance that we need to watch for. As you can see, our support became somewhat of a resistance here. We consolidated down to the $6. This was back in the March COVID hit of 2020. And the stock has since recovered fairly well up until the beginning of this year to find support back above those 1871 levels, which gives it the opportunity to start trading like this again. And as you can see, we dipped down a little bit, like $4. There must have been news back in 17 that brought it down, but it reversed immediately to recapture those losses on June 12th of 17, and then begin trading in this time frame again. We hit this 25.96 or 25.79 level once again, and as you see, consolidated and then retested it, broke out, began trading in this range, came down, retested the same level again, broke below the support, and it hit hard in March. Okay, so I want to identify that because this trend has what you would call a routine. So now that we're back above those 1817 levels, that's why we found it as a key area to enter this trade, even though we're $1 above that and some change, because we expect it to at least retest those 25.79s for the second time in the past almost year, or 2 years, excuse me, due to the COVID pandemic. This is why it performed so poorly, but the fact that it was able to recapture those losses so well, a full 100% recovery, essentially, and some. And now we're above the support level. We look at it going to the 25.79, and as you've seen, the last time we retested it back in August of 2017, and then retested it in December, we broke out above. So let me do some calculations on it. Let me get my stuff in order a little bit better. So if we hit 25.79 with a 1965, or even if you were to buy it where it's currently at 1971, you're looking at a potential 31% swing. Our targets here at Millennial Investments is mainly focused on 10 to 20%. But so this is a great trade that we're looking at But if we hit the 3079 levels, then we're looking at a potential 50% profit margin. And in that scenario, how we do it, we call it a split and run. You may have heard it if you watched some of our previous videos. If we have a stock that goes up 100%, we sell half of the position to lower the initial investment risk. That way you can allocate that money to another potential trade and you're not missing out on another opportunity, while the profits you made are still allowing for you to continue making money if the stock continues moving higher. So with this being a potential 50% swing, we would definitely watch it at those 3079 levels. It does look like it has issues getting above that. I'm going to go back here a little bit to see if we ever were, and we were. And as you can see, it's played a key role as being some sort of support or resistance throughout time. And the stock has since then, once before went to the 43.99 levels. And a trade like that would provide, let's do our math, 43.99. That would actually be 120% if we can hit 43.99. So key level to watch moving forward is that 30.79. I'm pretty sure we're going to break through the 25.79. That's not a guarantee, but just based off the trend analysis, this is something that occurs more so often. So we retest that 25.79 for a potential 31% swing, and then we go after the 30.79 for a 56%. I believe I said. Oh, I messed up. Let me go back. 30.79 for 50%, 56%, and then we go up to those. We're looking at those 43.99 levels. Another key level you need to pay attention to, even above the 30, is right here, as you saw, the 38. But now that we have our breakdown of what to expect out of the stock. We can look at it on a monthly to kind of give us our areas. So, if you want to screenshot this and, look at it moving forward for tech, if you have interest or a position in the trade, these are our key levels. Steve, I know you were asking about this, so I'm glad we were able to sit down and actually break this down a little bit more. And you can see it's really stuck strong to these key levels of support and resistance. And it's kind of solidifies why we don't focus necessarily on diagonal trend lines. I would like to point out, looking at it from the monthly real quick before we go to our next stock, it did the exact same thing from the 2008 fallout market crash. It hit the same levels and rebounded. Of course, it's done it 3 times. It didn't recover so well from the 2016 fallout. I'm not sure exactly. I'd have to do my research on why the company itself did that, but we could at least see this back to the 30. Looking at it from our way, I mean, that's still 50% profit. If we go above that, that's wonderful. So with a 50% trade, you could split and run it by selling half of the profits you make. So if you were to sell 25% of the position, you're securing your initial investment once again, while still allowing the stock to do well for you on a longer term basis, and you're trading on free shares. Okay. Another strategy that I'd like to add to something like tech, I'm pretty sure they have options to be traded, and this is something I will be testing myself in some degree, trying to track in order to share that information with other people. Is I would basically buy a call for this for the $30 price range on a monthly call, not weekly options, on a monthly option for $30. And I would base my option call based on the trend line that is going on. So I would look further into July 1st to buy a $30 call option for July 1st, 22. And then, if it moves before then, I'm not saying it's going to take till July to do it, but if it moves before then, they have January calls. So I would buy it in January. They're selling for $148. I would make $26 for every dollar it goes up. The gamma, I'd have to identify the gamma here. But anyways, whole theory is buy options on this trade, capture profits on the options, and then potentially buy free trades there, because with options you can gain a lot more profits, although it does come with risk. But with options and a longer time frame, you're able to lower your risk versus saying it's going to go up a week from now versus a year from now. You understand? So we can get into options if anybody's interested later, a little bit more in depth. But anyways, either buying options on this to profit heavy off of this $30 jump that could potentially happen within, based on previous trend lines. Let's see. As you can see, I have a degree angle set on my diagonal, so a 73% trend line. All right, so this could potentially, this is currently trading about 15%, 15 degrees lower than it normally would, but as you can see, it's kind of correcting itself. So I'm looking at this going maybe June of 2021 actually to the 30. But moving forward, you know, that's just an idea. Buy options, secure, and you can buy options and buy shares in the stock at the same time, and use the option profit to basically make your equity stake free. So you're making money off it two ways. Great, Gary. I would love to have a sit down with some of our other partners that are a little more in depth on option trading. That's all they do. Like Dylan, that's all he does. I would love for him to sit down with us and then basically, you know, discuss that with y'all a little bit more in depth, and I'll add in my emphasis on that too. But that's our price targets going on tech. I'm not gonna hold up on it too much longer. If you have any more questions about it, feel free, and we can come back to it if we need to. Our next trade is Nio, and as you can see, Nio is performing. I mean, it started back at $4 back in July of 20. This, I remember watching this actually starting to break out during the COVID period, and I mean, it's up $60 flat, you know. But let's go into it a little bit closer, smaller time frame. I've been watching this stock already, so you will already see trend lines built here. I'm not gonna erase them, or we can, just so that, I mean, it doesn't hurt my feelings. But I would love to show you guys, you know, how I'm looking at these types of trades. Once again, we're gonna go in and identify our trend lines, and I always start back here. Most people ask why. Well, that's where it first met that level of resistance, and as you see, it tried to retest it. It bounced up a little bit, but then it fell back down. And then it bounced up a little bit more, fell down a little bit, but then bounced. Okay, so that's a key level of resistance that then became a level of support. Once again, I want to reiterate why horizontal price ranges are a little bit better than diagonals. And then I'll go in and just fill in my support levels. Support levels being green. Since this became a support level, it's gonna turn green, and then we have our red. So now we're currently trading within a trend that's between the $54 to $66 price range. And if you were to add in any type of diagonal trend lines, you can see we're probably gonna be compressing here for the next few days, unless they have some type of catalyst, such as a press release regarding the company. I know the company is currently looking at releasing this vehicles in Europe. I haven't seen any news released here over the past week that I've been trading it. I've been trading options on it. Every time it dips, I buy an option. So I'm looking for a new option at the $54 price level, around with a strike anywhere between $59 and $62 going into this week is how I'm going to trade this. And I'm currently building up an account that I can initially drop equity stakes in it to hold it longer term on a free cash basis. So we may see some consolidation coming into this week, which is okay. We're currently trading in this price range. I wouldn't get concerned about the stock unless it dropped below that 50.24 price range right here, moving into next week. And as long as we stay above that, then you know we're going to stay in this current price range we're trading in, so it's easier to find your entries there. Look for an entry anywhere from here, from $56 to $54 if you're wanting to hold this long term, and then put your stop loss at the level of support, which is the 50-20 or 5% with the 10% sell threshold. But going back into the trade, I think it's going to consolidate, which is fine. It's not a big issue. Like I said, as long as it doesn't fall below the $54 price range. And then from there, you can find your option to, you know, I would find an option either if you have the money to buy it where it's at $54 when it gets there, if it gets there, that'd be great, because then if it goes back up to the 66, you're deep in the money. You have high delta with a high gamma rate. Eventually, your delta is going to get to $1 per contract, meaning basically, I can pull up my TD account and kind of go into depth with it, but we have so many trades that I don't want to waste too much time on that. And like I said, we'll have another session. But basically, your delta determines the amount of money you make per contract for every dollar the stock goes up. So if I buy a contract at the $54, saying that it's gonna be above $54 at this date, then if it goes up to $54 or $55, I'm gonna make a certain price, a certain amount per option contract. Every dollar it goes up from there. And what we can see is that yes, it's in this descending triangle, is what they would call this. Somewhat a bull flag. Because you could do something like this and identify the flag. You'll see the flag kind of stick out to you now. But we're going to compress in the process. But once we get into these areas, that's when you'll eventually see the breakout. It may dip below our 54, but let's watch if it does. But I don't think it is, with Nio being the type of company it is. A lot of people call this the second Tesla, and I believe in that as well, which is needed in a market like the EV market, because you can't have one conglomerate or one monopoly taking over the market. There's always going to be room for error for other companies to optimize off of. So anyways, going back into the trade, myself going into this week, I'm going to see if we can come down over the next 2 days probably to somewhere in this price level, unless it gaps down immediately on Tuesday. But I'm pretty sure based off the trend that we're going to hit this $54 price level, which is where I will be looking for maybe a month or two out type contract expiration dates for a $54 to $55 strike. That way I'm in the money going forward. And hopefully we bounce down and then up. We can break this descending triangle at any time. It's not guaranteed that it's going to stay here. I just feel like we definitely are going to have a healthy pullback for the stock, allowing for opportunity to find an entry in it. So I will be looking for that to eventually make money to get free equity stake in the company for a longer term that I will hold probably forever, unless the company just does something terrible that I don't like and I try to catch it. Even though I'm having a long-term equity stake in the company, I am going to have a stop loss in place, most definitely in this price range, below it. That way, as long as my money's sitting there long-term, then if something happens in a day's time that I'm not aware of, at least my stop loss is able to protect my long-term investment. And I may lose a little bit, but I won't lose everything because of a company's problems that may occur, which occurs all the time. A good perfect example is VXRT, which we reviewed on Saturday. You can actually go through that video to find it. I need to go through there and identify when we actually talked about specific stocks, which I will do in this one. But look for this, sum this up, look for it to come back down to the 54. We can kind of verify its trend by going in and seeing that it closed below Thursday's close, which is that identification that we're coming back to this 54 price level. If you were to do a diagonal trade here, a trend line, you can see that. Of course, this could break through that, but I'm pretty sure this is going to come back down, and then my indicators would actually show me a little bit more information on that. We went into the after hours. You see the EMA here on the 1 hour, it's turning red, and the stock is currently trading below it, which also identifies again that we can go down even further than where we're currently at. Of course, we did have this large buying volume spike here 2 hours in a row, but we also were followed by large selling volume spikes that were not accommodated by buying at the same time. Of course, going into the end of the week, people started buying into the stock to prepare for the following week. Just because the EMAs are going red here does not necessarily mean this can't reverse and go back above and go all green on my EMA indicators. But as you can see, even on a lower time frame, we didn't really see buying volume come into play until after hours, and then right after market opened, about 9:50 to 11 o'clock. And so typically what I see in stocks is they'll open low, but they'll buy in because of the dip, by the dip players that come into play. But then it just fell out. It lost that momentum and kept trending lower. But we did find some support levels on the 59.44 on the 10-minute time frame, which is nice. But you can go back into the trades and see that there are some large buying volume spikes in it because it was in an uptrend. But now that we're kind of consolidating, pulling back, you can kind of see the selling volume coming into play here. So keep an eye out on that $54 to $55, $56 entry level to then potentially retest the 64 going forward. That's my play on the trade. So I'm going to wrap that one up and get to our next trade. GMIA. Gary asked me on Facebook if NIO is a holding company. What did you mean by that? If you can kind of, reiterate what you're discussing, what you're requesting, and that type of information. Let me clear out some of this and we get to GMIA while he provides me with that information. We have 6 viewers here. Chris, I have Blackberry on the list and more EVs. Of course, NIO and Solo are some of the EVs we reviewed today. RMO is a battery company for EV vehicles. And BLNK is our charging station stock that we're going to look at, just to answer you there. But if there's anybody else here, please be sure to add your name in the chat and let me know that you're here so I can address you properly. And make sure that we don't have anyone anywhere else. Okay, so let's go into GMIA. Jumia Technologies, I'm assuming that I'm pronouncing that properly, is performing very well. As you can see, it's almost like NIO was. Started around this $7 price range and is currently sitting at 64. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my company news on this. I would like to spend more time. I mean, we're already near 50 minutes in and I haven't even got to pull in company information and actual DD. But we can definitely discuss DD in the comments. If you want to discuss DD furthermore, then add it in the comments so we can hold those conversations there. NIO actually makes their vehicles. He asked if NIO was a holding company who doesn't actually make their vehicles. I believe NIO actually makes their vehicles. But going into this, once again, let's use the 4-hour on a trade like this. Actually, it actually makes them, to my knowledge. I will confirm that for you, Gary. All right. Excuse me for that. So let's identify our levels of support first. You could do it either way. It really doesn't matter. But you'll see that they all start to play a part. One level of resistance that I'd like to pay attention to is that 49. I'm actually going to get rid of this one. And I'm going to get rid of that one because we were trading within a price range here. And then we're going to identify our top level resistance. And as you can see, these trades typically stick pretty strong to these key levels that I'm identifying time after time. This looks like the same scenario here with good question. This looks like the same scenario that we saw with NIO, where we could potentially see a pullback on this stock. And that's based off of it constantly beating up against this level of resistance here, and not being able to push through it, push above it. But of course, we are finding strong levels of support in the process. Jumia has not released any company-specific information other than that they will be announcing 2020 results on February 24th. If I look at the fundamentals on the company is currently up 17% year over year, with EPS. Net profit margins, though, on the flip side, which is not something I always see, is down negative 6.75%. And their current revenue trend is not even shown right now. They have a gross profit margin, which is up year over year 23%, and their operating profit margin is down 8%. So let's look at it quarter over quarter. EPS is up 17%. Net profit margin is up respectfully the same, 17%. Operating profit margins quarter over quarter is up 32%. And gross margins is actually down 5%. So as far as the company and trend, that's our fundamental analysis on the company. So the company is doing pretty okay as far as from a shareholder standpoint, but it seems like they have some issues fundamentally as a business, is how I would like to identify that. But looking at the stock, I'm going to go ahead and pull my indicators back in. As you can see, we're trading above the top 13, or we're riding the top 13 EMA here. As you can see, I use that 13 EMA because we find strong support typically on those levels. But anytime that I do a trend analysis based on, don't hide drawings, based on the 4 hour to identify my key levels of resistance and everything, then I go to the 1 hour and I see how it's performing there. Once again, just like we saw with Nio, our EMAs are trading lower. We're going red on those. We're seeing strong selling volume going through the stock. We're finding strong support though here on the $60 price level. So but the stock closed below Thursday's close. So I would pay close attention. Who asked about this? Pascal asked about this. All right, so what I would do going into tomorrow's trading session, pre-market, see how it opens, see if we're above the 62.83, or if we're going down below, and if we drop below the 60.93. That's pre-market. Of course, we can see some great movement in a pre-market move, and then market opens and you're destroyed by market open. So I don't make or place a trade until about 8:30 or 9 o'clock, 9:30 Central Time, because I want to see how the trade's gonna open for that potential day. Not saying that just because it opens lower that it's gonna perform worse, but there could be a potential entry level at a lower price point than where it was performing at pre-market, where it drops down in market open and allows me to find a better entry. And then when it opens, typically whichever direction it goes, it's going to go either straight up and then start to come down and consolidate, because it's like, I see this all the time, it's a hard sprint and then a long gasp, and that goes the same way going down. So that's how I look at my trades. If it opens up hard to the top, then I expect about mid-market, close to close, that there will be a buying opportunity going into the next day. And I base that off of my trend levels and the price ranges that it's trading in, on what entry I'm comfortable with, and looking for an entry around those levels, and trying to confirm or follow the trade until it reaches somewhere near that level where it lowers my risk and provides more confidence in my entry. So let's watch this going into Tuesday's pre-market, market open sessions to see if we're below the 693 or above the 6280. I believe I identified a second ago, but like I said, we're seeing some strong compression to the downside here based on what the EMAs are telling us and based on what our volume profiler is identifying. And the fact that there's a gap between the MACD and the volume flow index. I expect this to start to peak down, as you see that green line there starting to go and meet the orange to come down. And once they meet here, I expect this to provide us with a great entry point. As you can see, that happened here, and once they met, that's when we saw an additional breakout. So even though the MACD is showing a potential upside, that actually corrects it. So that's why I use those indicators. Based off the RSI, we're pretty low, so it does allow for, a quick bounce to the top coming into pre-market. But that's things we have to watch for. There's a certain set of criteria we watch for here at Millennial Investments before we make a final decision on making a trade or even sharing that information with you guys. This is a volume weighted MACD, and as you can see, there's more to the sell side, but that's going into after hours, which is pretty typical on a Friday anyways. We saw the same type of trend here, and then we saw that potential breakout. But as you can see, the volume flow index was right next to the MACD versus the opposite being here. So you got to be careful trying to compare previous trend action or price action to the next period. That's why we have the subset of identifiers we have here to better understand, okay, we need to watch out for this. It could be a little bit risky trying to go into it right now as far as in this price range, because it could gap down. And if it does gap down, I could potentially see in this retesting the 56 first and seeing if it finds support there before it drops down to this $49 level. And I'm pretty sure it's the same with NIO. There's another price level that's for you to identify on your own to make your own comfort level that much better. So that's my current analysis on this one. As far as a price target to the upside, we're pretty high right now at the 67 price range, which only gives you a $5 gap, which is much less than 10% on the trade. So I would actually wait. Do you currently have a position in this trade, Pascal, is my next question. I always ask that. I meant to ask that earlier. And for anybody that wants a trade reviewed, please let us know what your price average is at least. And if you want to you feel comfortable enough, you can also let us know what your position is on the trade, so we can actually calculate your risk percentage along with your profit percentage as well. And also, let's take a break for a second. If you would, please share this stream. If you will, Facebook's giving me issues in sharing stuff. Apparently it let me do it this morning, but I didn't think it was going to. But while I'm focused on this, I don't think about anything else. I want to give my attention to this. So if you would, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to receive future notifications about my trade reviews, free trade alerts that we do. And then also share this right now so that other people can join us. So we have a new member viewing right now. If you want to let us know what your name is so I can address you properly, and you can connect with us to ask your questions either in the chat or on the social media links in the description below. I have that right here in front of me to watch if somebody is reaching out to me, and I have not currently received any new updates on any additional stocks that you want to view. If you want to view them, place the stock symbol and then place the price average if you have a position, and if you feel comfortable enough with sharing that your position information, your position and the size that you have, so that we can you're gonna have to explain the position thing to me. Okay, now your average price is 53 on JMIA. I mean, you're pretty comfortable here, because you should find support above that 59 level that I was identifying. Let me pull this up just a little bit more and reset my chart. Pullback that we're looking at in this is most likely around the 54 to 56 level. If this does come down, that's one key level you want to watch there. If you want to take a quick screenshot of this, is at 56.15. If we break below that, then you can expect it to retest this price range, and that's how we trade. Okay. 7 shares. Okay. Got you. Pandy, do you think $61 would be a good entry? No. I don't. And reason being, just to go back into detail about that, we do have strong support on the 1 hour, but there's indicators on larger time frames that are showing this trade consolidating more. As you can saw, we had a red 4-hour time frame there. We're all red here. We're seeing sell volume heavy, and then we saw some spikes in buying volume, which is most likely people trying to jump into the trade the next week. I'm looking to get into GMI. So what would be a price level be good for a few shares? Look for an entry around the $54 to $56 price ranges that I identified for Pascal going into this week. See if we find support here to then bounce up again to the 67. That would provide you actually with let me do the math for us real quick. If we were to bounce down to the 54, you would at least make 25% on the trade if you were to enter into the stock around $54. 56 would provide you with let's see, 67, 63, 56 would still provide you with 20% on the trade. Okay, so just be mindful of that going into next week is watching that $54 to $56 price range, seeing if we find support and a reversal. I usually allow for 3 confirmations onto the green side, to the upside on the 1 hour to confirm over reversal, and then I go down to my lower time frames to make sure that momentum is still going in the same direction. Okay, so what something like that would look like is, let me get rid of all this so we can actually view the stock price levels. All right, so just like we saw this big green wick, we saw a reverse. So this is called harmonic, but this is right here, perfect example. Boom, boom, boom. Now we're going up. Now we're going up. So even if you got an entry right here and it consolidated a little bit, it found support on a previous level of resistance and then bounced up. That's where you can build your confidence levels. It's all about the key levels of support that you're identifying. That can be determined by just an overall look on the trade, like we did with this originally, or based on your entry. And base your entry off make sure it's either near a support level, or if it's beyond a resistance level, that the stock is finding support above that resistance level moving forward, if that makes any sense. Okay, so somewhere in the 54 to 56 price level is where I would look at this. But that's about it for this one. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to let me know, and I can come back to it if we need to. We had somebody, Pascal, requested LSPD, $73 currently. Let's go ahead and identify our levels. We're going to start with the previous level. The reason I didn't do the bottom candle wick is because this solidified where the actual level was. You can even do something like this, and you see that candle wick actually landed on that level. So let's do it that way. Okay, this was a key level of support. You're very welcome. That's why I want to do this, guys, as much as possible. We do it every day on Saturday, or every day. We do it every Saturday. We're going to be doing it every Saturday, 10 o'clock, to recap on the week, and then also get ready for the following week. So if y'all have any trades you would like to get a second opinion on, I'm actually going to start bringing in my trading team moving forward to have even more opinions and identify even more things and different trading strategies that, one trading strategy may never work. I just found this one to be very successful. And that's demonstrated through our current trade alerts. Of course, I wish I could take 8 hours in a day and go over all of our trade alerts, but there's so much I have going on, from managing trade alerts, developing, marketing, providing support for everyone. So, bear with me, but we're getting our trading team together to help support this movement a lot easier. I want to be handing off some of my responsibilities and keeping this going. But anyways, moving forward with LSPD, let me go ahead and pull my fundamentals up on the company so we can lay that out first. Fundamentals play a part in long-term investments. Currently, they're not showing any fundamental information on TD Ameritrade for this company. So let me see if I can pull it up here for us real quick, and we can all view it together. Let's look up our stock, LPSD. Did I spell it LSPD? There we go. Let's look at performance. So currently up 81%, 3 months, 6 months we're up 141%. This is not what I'm valuation. That's what I'm looking for, and it doesn't show me everything that TD Ameritrade. See, I use, just to let you know the tools I use TradingView, which is what we're looking at now for my trend analysis. I use TD Ameritrade to place my trades, to look at the fundamentals on the company, to understand how well a company's doing. That's what I'm looking for right there, the income statement. And you can look at their balance sheet on here as well, so you know that some more about the fundamentals of the company and how well they're doing. But I use TD Ameritrade for my options. I use TD Ameritrade for my trading. I use TD Ameritrade for my fundamentals. And what else? That's about it. But sometimes TD Ameritrade does, and it's Thinkorswim platform that TD Ameritrade uses for their trading platform, just so you know that. But they're not currently providing fundamental information on this. which sucks because I really wanted to look into it a little bit more in depth. They do provide their quarterly earnings, which they just reported Q4 20 earnings. They also have ticker on Canadian side. Is this a Canadian company? Let me see. Lightspeed POS. Now, I'll get into all that information myself later. I'm not going to hold y'all up with it. I know y'all want to get straight to the trade. If you can answer that for me, Pascal, that'd be great. Fundamentally, let me see. We have net debt of negative 185. Total debt is 55 million compared to 1.5 billion in assets. So that we're looking at a 2.3 asset to debt ratio is what we're looking at here. Same here, current ratio. And current assets is 275 million, which is almost close to 4 times the amount of debt they have. So great fundamental basis for this company is how I would look at that. Let's see what margins. Net margin is negative 57. Gross margin is 43. So there's something here I want to look into because that doesn't add up to me. But we'll go into the trade. You don't necessarily... All right, there's two... Montreal, okay, it is a Canadian company. There's 2 ways to look at trades. Long term, you want fundamentals. How is the company performing quarter over quarter currently? That is to let you know if this is a good time to invest in it right now. And then year over year shows you how well it's performing in the longer term and how long it should be performing. And what you want to compare is its current year over year percentage compared to its 3 and 5 year average. Okay, so that way you can see its growth rate and how well it's growing and how well it's managed in that time frame. And that's just from a business aspect. Being an entrepreneur and having a business degree, that's why it's easy for me to identify longer term trades versus just trading. Now with trading, you want to do trend analysis. Now the fundamentals can play a part in that if you're basing your trades off of like earnings reports and stuff like that. And let me share one more thing with you guys. When it comes to earnings, by time they release the conference call or the earnings report itself, the price is already priced in for the price action that people are looking to make off of the trade. So it's best, if you're playing an earnings trade, it's best to place a position a week to 2 weeks before the actual earnings call and report, because the stock's going to go up in expectations of earnings. And by time the report's done, people are already pulling back out because they're capturing their gains that they did make off of the earnings play. Keep that in mind moving forward. One thing I want to share, not a definite or defined way to do it, but just something to keep in mind to make better considerations. All right, so on LSPD, this is currently, what is their name? Lightspeed POS. Let's see if we have any news release. Post fund sales. Announces launch of marketed public offering of subordinate voting shares. Seeks to raise 570 million in second offering, which is great because they're currently looking for immediate liquidity, which is much more than, if you look back at their fundamentals, is about 15 million more than what their current debt is. So maybe they're looking at doing this secondary offering that they announced on the 9th to cover their current debt to allow them to be debt free going into the year by sharing some of the equity with someone that's looking into getting into the business, which allows for their profit margin, their net and gross margins to increase, which actually performs and shows better earnings reports. Okay, so, but that's fundamentals. Looking at the trade, that's smart, by the way. I like to add with fundamentals. They're taking the right steps to make sure that they're growing the company at its optimal levels without being greedy about it. So they only added an additional 15 million margin onto their offering to have just a little bit more for unexpected types of things. That's how I would look at that type of move. But they didn't share too much equity in order to do that. allowing for them to capture the actual profits to then re-enter into the business. All right, so looking at it, we're currently trading between the $62 to $78 price ranges. We're actually midway in the price range, so this is actually providing a 50-50 risk just from looking at it initially. I haven't really dove into this since talking about it, but that's just my first look at this stock. We could potentially retest the $62 price range before we retest the $78 levels of resistance. Or we can dive deeper into it and we can identify whether it's more higher of a chance to go higher and retest the $78 now, or if it's showing signs of going down and showing the 62 based off the things that I've shown y'all in my trend analysis from the previous stocks. Okay, so looking at it, key levels of support to watch is the 62. Let's go ahead and identify our lower levels, and that would be right here at the 39.91. Reason being because that was a previous level of support that became, resistance that became a level of support. And then also here, you can identify that as well. So what you may see with that happening is the stock comes down, it'll dip low, but it'll bounce right back off that 55. If I bring in my indicators here, that'll kind of solidify that for us, right? So I don't know why it does that. Why is it taking away my drawings? All right. So what I mean by that is you can see based on the buying volume or the volume profile, we've had a lot of transactions here on the $64 level. So that only adds to the strength of the $62 level of support. The reason the transactions are higher than the level of support is because once it broke that level of resistance, people started buying into it heavily. People started selling here and buying again. Selling here, buying again. And then as you can see up here above, we actually have much more transactions that occurred at these higher price levels. But that could lead to the sell-off that is currently looking at. If you want to look at it from that, if you're trying to consider what this volume profile is telling us, is that once it hit this price point, a lot of people started selling out. A lot of trades started happening. And that's why it was never able to go above the $78 level. I'm going to look back on a monthly chart. The stock came out back in August of 2019. So we don't have too much historic data to look at going into this trade. So we're basing it off of where we're currently at now, and going into the 1 hour time frame. As you can see, once again, we're trading within this time frame. This price range, and we're currently sitting at the top. Now, what this is indicating is the buying volume slowing. MACD is going red. Once the volume flow index starts to hit that MACD, we're gonna go down. That's what I'm assuming. This is also solidified by the amount of selling volume that occurred in Thursday's session, and then again right before close, or this is this is Wednesday's session. I'm sorry, and this is Thursday's. Going into the close on Thursday and the open on Monday, there was more larger sell volume here. So I expect that to occur downside, finding support between the $64 and the $62 price range on the low side before bouncing again. So I would look for an entry around those price levels moving forward, going into this trade. If you're looking for an entry, I'm not sure if you already have a position. If you could let me know that, and then we can base our analysis based on your current position and whether you're safe or things you need to watch out for. That's the end of LSPD. If y'all have any more stocks you want to look at, please let me know by adding it to the chat or hit me up on Facebook. Please be sure to share this with everybody else so we can bring more viewers in here, and make it worth everyone's time. It's definitely worth my time. I'm not trading today, so I didn't have anything else planned but this. But we're an hour 15 in. I want to get all the trades that we can in around 65. I think you're safe. You might see that pullback to those price levels that I was talking about, but I think your entry was pretty on point. I'm not sure how long you've been holding this trade, but that's a very nice entry level. I'm not sure if you got in mid-January of 2020 or 2021, I'm sorry, or right here in the beginning of February. Oh, no problem, man. That's what this is about. But I think you're safe. I think you're going to be all right. If there's a long-term hold on it, hold it. I want to find more information on the fundamentals. I would suggest you do the same thing. Look for their EPS. See if they have a dividend. 6 to 7% is what you want on dividend. If they do, it's much better than a savings account. Look for their gross profit margin, gross operating margin, net profit margin, and their revenue long term. As long as that is better than it was last quarter, they're slowly growing. They're showing growth now. If it's better year over year, then you can actually track the progress that they made. So look at the year over year, the quarter earnings reports for the past year, and compare the last 2 quarters. Okay, I've been trading in Toronto Stock Exchange since it is at $35. Since it was at $35, I'm guessing you're saying. That's great. I mean, I would highly suggest. Hopefully, you still have some of those shares at 35 because now you're up 100%. And you could actually recapture your initial investment if you wanted to. And that goes to the split and run tactic. Now you're trading off free shares. I'm not sure if you bought more shares at the $65 price range, but leave those in to allow them to continue to accumulate profits. But those $35 shares, if that's what you bought, then you could look at getting rid of half of the position on those $35 shares, or you can hold it, and since it's doing so well, let it go. But I use fundamentals to determine my trust levels in a company, but anything can happen at any time. That's something to always consider. It looks like we have some more viewers in here. If you can list your name in the chat. If you have any stocks you want to review, list them in the chat. If you would, please share this with other viewers so we can have more people to, communicate and collaborate with on some of these trades. But going to the next stock, it's BLNK. This is a EV charging station company. And it looks like going into tomorrow, I will be buying $60 calls. And that's just initially looking at the stock. I'll get rid of all this stuff so that we can look at just the actual candles on the stock right now. But top of my head, first thing I see, $60. I'm going to place a $60 call on this with a potential, where would I do it? You could take a ruler here. I could take a ruler here, rather, and do something to this extent. It took all of 8 hours to jump $8. So $60 stocks going into the week, or $60 options is what I'm playing. I can tell you that now. We just started sharing our option alerts now that we have the system running. I tested it out last week. I'm gonna back up to the 4-hour here so we can re-identify all of our horizontal trend lines as always. All right. Looked like it closed. One thing I want to identify before we start. One thing I want to talk about. What I'm gonna do moving forward is I'm gonna lay out the fundamentals of a company so you can see the long-term positions on it. Currently, EPS quarter over quarter negative 14%. Net profit margin negative 55%. Gross profit margin is up positive 35, and operating profit margin is negative 55. Respectfully, that is quarter over quarter. Looking at EPS, it's only down 1 penny in Q3. But on an annual basis, the company is up 253% EPS year over year. We are up 13% on operating profit margin, good, and net profit margin is up 186%, with a negative 136 gross profit margin. I want to identify why these numbers are correlating. Revenue is showing 50 basis points on the above the 5-year average, and 56 basis points above the 3-year average. So looking great year over year. Quarter over quarter, there must have been some mishaps. We need to identify those mishaps. and look at the trade. But as far as the stock price goes on a trend analysis, let's go ahead and get into that on the 4 hour here. So reset this. Go ahead and identify our resistance levels. I'll start here, and then I will start. Since it's kind of in this trend that it's in, I'm gonna do it this way. Sometimes you have to adjust how we do this. Okay. One thing that stood out to me that I need to correct, right there. Boom. And actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it right here. All right. Reason being is because that was a key level of resistance before that now plays as support, resistance to support reversal here. So I'm going to get rid of that initial trend line that I had. I'm going to place this one here, see how it correlates with it before I identify that it plays a part in where we're at. Actually, because of that right there, this is my focus. This is the price range we're in. This is what we're going to be trading in moving forward. I'm pretty confident of it. Based on the trade, let me reset my scale, if it will. I don't know. Why is it doing that? Oh, that's fine. Okay, there we go. All right. And yeah, we're good. All right. Going into this, doubt it's coming back to $36 for anything in the world. It is not coming back to $36. Unless something just terrible happens, and I don't see that happening with everything going on with the Biden administration. We all discussed that last night. We're actually in what you call an ascending wedge pattern, which can be identified if you pull back on the chart just a little bit, and you will see that wedge here. So I'm looking at making $63. Either I can do $63 out of the money calls for very cheap, or I can pay more money, risk more money too, for buying $51 calls where it's in the money. That would currently be, if I were to look at it now, let's see, I would try to go out as far as possible. Yeah, we're looking at $1,000 in March, $700 in, let's see, $63. I would buy a $65 call for $500 right now, one contract. You can do a lower time frame, but it's going to be less, but your theta is going to eat away more. I'd actually be comfortable with buying like a $75 call around the that would be about $325. I think I'm going to buy that. I will make $27 every dollar it goes up, and an additional, so first dollar it goes up, I'll make $27. The second dollar it goes up, I'll make $39. Third dollar it goes up, I'll make $41. This is all to say I'll make about 100 to 150 minimum going into it, and have the ability to buy about 3 or 4 shares free. Bingo. Yeah, I did an alert on Bingo. I'll add it to the list. But regardless, you can do weekly calls. Those come with higher risk, but also come with higher reward. I might have to do that in order to buy more. I'm looking at maybe March 12th, which is a weekly call, which those are pretty high in itself. Jesus. Yeah, they got option contracts on this pretty high, man. So it looks like it's more beneficial for me to buy the monthly calls at this point, as I thought. March 19th, $75 calls for $325 is what I'm looking at for this trade. Great entry point if you want an equity stake on it. I started with 300 shares and now I have 75 left. I think it's my best trade so far. Leaving the rest of the shares left. Live its life. Yeah, do it. If you're referring back to, are you referring to Bingo with that or something else? If you can, clarify that. Anyways, looking for this to bounce back to 63. Once it does, we're looking at maybe right here. I can draw a line to do it. Let's see. Where's my line? My arrow. I'm thinking of something to this extent. Like there. Right there. Somewhere like this. And that's based off of its current trend. Going into the next few weeks, you can go in the 1 hour and kind of identify that a little bit better based on that right there. And then extend to the right. It's not let me do that. Why? That would no, I gotta figure out. Anyway, I'm not gonna hold you up. Oh, there it is. Extend to the right. Bam. All right. So by March, we're looking at retesting 63 for sure. To be exact, March 2nd. So definitely want to buy calls on this to get free shares. You can also buy calls and then place equity stake, like I said before. That way, the profits you make off of your calls justifies the free shares that you can gain in the equity stake. Looking at a $63 price target on this and above. If we're able to hit this level of resistance and break through, find support above that is what we want to look for to confirm the movement to the upside moving forward. Okay. BLNK is a good play, EV play, long term. As long as there's electrical vehicles, you're going to need electrical batteries and charging stations. And this is one of the top 3 companies in the U.S. for sure, but they also have stations deployed in Europe and Asia, I believe. Last I did my DD on this company, I did some in-depth DD on it once the administration came into office. So let's go to RMO, which is another EV play. It's currently, as you can see on the weekly, let me get rid of this fib level. Let me go ahead and get rid of my horizontal trend lines. I want to keep doing this with you guys so that you understand how to identify identify key levels and how they play a part in how the trade is currently trading. So making this our key level of support because it was our most recent level of resistance before breaking out. Here's another level of support here, but you could actually probably place it here and it correlates a little bit more. RMO, I think, is actually a hidden gem. And I say that for a few reasons. RMO is a battery company. They build lithium batteries for EV vehicles. And right now they're currently working with another company to start working on waste management vehicles. I can get the name of that other company as well. It is Heritage teams up with, where was it? Advanced Battery Recycling. They're also doing that. That's news to me. I did not know about. Republic Services teams up with them to develop battery technology for garbage trucks, which is something really not talked about, is the waste management vehicles that they're coming out with. That's another place. So if you find a manufacturer that develops that, I'm sure, what is it? I know there's Nio, but there's another one I can't even think of off the top of my head. Not Tesla, but I'll add it in the comments once I find it. But battery manufacturer for electrical vehicles. Fundamentally, let's see. Fundamentals on the company say we're down 99% EPS quarter over quarter and down 305% on return on equity. That's all they're providing on their quarterly. But they're up 100% EPS year over year and up 100% on book value. Now, one thing you have to consider is with manufacturers, it takes a lot of money to develop. So we can expect that to be a main cause for seeing numbers and fundamentals like this. On a 5-year trend, though, the company is looking pretty healthy, even with that being said. So you got to consider that. It's just like a pharma company. With pharma, you have research, then you have the clinical trials, which is 1, 2, and 3. You got to account for. Once approved, then you have FDA approval. From there, you have mass production and delivery. Then you have sales, growth, and maturity. You got to look at anything that's developing something new based off of that. Just future, reference to think about. RMO kind of disappointed me. Like I said, I think it's a hidden gem. It came down. We alerted on the stock on, let me pull that info out so we can get into detail. RMO, we released a trade alert just on the 10th. It was at 1853 when we alerted on it. It's now at 1661. It's down below it's down 0.36% below our 10% selling threshold. But the reason we haven't closed it based on that is because it was showing signals of retesting the 2315 levels of resistance for a potential 20% swing after a consolidation pullback and indicating signs of a reversal. The company was actually founded by Tesla, SpaceX, Amazon, and Samsung to focus on manufacturing commercial car vehicle batteries, and we see this being a sleeper in the new White House administration initiative to replace all government vehicles with EVs. This company recently announced that it will be teaming up with Republic Services to develop battery technology back on January 28th, and from a fundamental and long-term future outlook, the company had seen 100% EPS growth year over year, so even holding this long term would be a great idea. That was our initial trade alert on the stock on the 10th. That was the details we provided. So the fact that this is built by Tesla, SpaceX, you can see it, and Amazon and Samsung, you can see this being a subsidiary or side-by-side company that works in line with Tesla directly. Tesla. So it's the fact that it's not Tesla itself. It has the ability. I agree with that. Seems cheap for a SPAC. I was in before the merger. I was surprised it went down that much. Yeah. But with that being said, it being a separate company from Tesla, it's allowed to provide its electrical batteries to other vendors outside of Tesla. That's something to keep in mind as well from a business standpoint. And I think that's why they did it this way. And it also could assist with SpaceX and their technology. It could assist Virgin Galactic and Amazon with their space technology. Think about it. Put the dots together and why Tesla, Amazon, and SpaceX and Samsung all work together to find this. I don't know what Samsung has to play with this. I guess potentially with their lithium batteries. Not sure, but this is definitely a sleeper. And I agree. Like the SPACs are weird to me. They always bounce up to these $40. That's probably why RMO bounced up to these price levels outrageously, because of that binge that everybody went on SPACs at the beginning of December, end of December, beginning of January. But SPACs always come back down. I mean, they're initially pump and dumps, man. They announce some merger, they bounce up this high, and then they die. And then you're looking at it like, why? But SPACs, in my understanding, are built and created to bring companies public without actually making the company itself public. And that's most likely why we've seen this as well. But of course, RMO is actually on the stock market, so I'm not sure. I'd have to dig into the SPAC agreement and everything that was built there. Looking at it from a technical analysis, though, let's get straight into the trade and the chart. You see, this is why, once again, why the horizontal levels play a part. Because once the stock broke below here, you saw it continue to the downside. Pull in our indicators and we'll continue seeing the EMAs are showing red. We're seeing high sell volume here on the 1 hour throughout the past week, the last few days, or past 2 weeks. We're finding strong support though here. We found strong support around 1652. I'm not sure if that's the previous level of resistance or not. I'd have to go through here, clear all this up, and look for it. But I just ultimately suggested this stock because I think it's a hidden gem in the EV play. And I suggest it for everybody else as well. Excuse me. I'll get back to them. My grandpa probably checking on me in the snow. But yeah, RMO's, I think, a very good company to invest in now, while it is this low Pascal. I think it's providing an opportunity to find even lower dips to go into it. Fundamentally strong, sound, although quarter over quarter we're seeing a little bit of weakness there. I would like to figure out why, if that's based off of development, manufacturing, research, or if the company's mismanaging their money versus how they performed a year ago. But good EV play here. That's that. Did I tell you an entry on this? 1662 I'm pretty confident in. Just to elaborate on that, I was very confident on the $18.27 price level. Be careful here. If it opens up Tuesday trading below then we're going down between the $13 to $11 price range. So I would wait to see how it performs if you haven't already had a position in the trade, to make sure that we're not going deeper and you can find a better entry on the dip. I do want to bring in my volume profile just to solidify something, to verify something real quick, and I'm not seeing it. There it is. Okay, so we're finding strong transactional trades here at the $22 price range, but that's most likely due to the fact that this breakout here. I'm on the waiting. Yeah. Right. Do that. Wait. We currently have options on it. So, we're currently already losing money off of it, but I have strong faith that we will retest those $26. I only paid like $100 for the option, so I'm not really concerned about the risk in it. If it performs, it performs. If I lose $100, I lost $100 on a potential growth stock, and EV play. Okay, but so watch out for that. If we do not find support and a reversal, which we saw right here, we saw a large buying volume spike come in, so that's end of the week. Typical, people positioning themselves for the following week, but keep in mind how it opens pre-market, if it correlates in price action in market open. All right, so next stock we're going to look at is BB, Blackberry, for those who may not know. I actually alerted on Blackberry a while ago. It wasn't performing to how I wanted it to. It did break out, actually. I think I closed the stock. It was what it was. It took forever to perform. I think I alerted on it back in like mid-December, and then it did all this and broke out finally. And I think I told everybody to sell right here, although it continued moving higher. I'd have to go into the trade and determine if and when we closed it. But anyways, looking at it from a standpoint of right now, not to look back on the past, let's go ahead and identify our levels of resistance here. And of course, you know, you can probably do here because it hit it 2 or 3 times. And here. All right. That's going to be green. This is going to become red because it once was a level of resistance, became support, but now it's resistance again. And that's where we're trading in. So, moving forward into the stock, I would watch for it to trade in between these 2 price ranges because of this level of resistance now becoming a level of support. So, like, I'm doing this as it's going through, as I'm going through it, but you always have to apply previous action to where it's currently at, and that's where we're currently trading. We're trading between $11 and $13. From a fundamental standpoint, let's see how the company's performing. They're not even providing any information on TD Ameritrade, which is surprising with this company being as old as it is. BB. Blackberry, there it is right there. Let's look at, where did we find margins? We have a gross margin of 53%, operating margin -7, which is not too bad, net margin of -88. So that's gross to debt, income to debt comparisons. On gross profits, we're up a 101 million. That's before expenses taken out. Annual revenue, we're up 1.02 billion, with a -$150 income. I really don't like looking at this because I'm not used to it, so I'm not going to focus on it too well. I'll do some more research later and provide some fundamentals on the company either in the comments or description. But right now what we're looking for is to break that 1362 price level. I'm not sure if you have a position. Your average position is 1715 on RMO. Okay. On RMO, I identified, let's make sure we find support above the 1662 going into tomorrow's trading session. If we do not find that support staying strong going into market open and we see some consolidation to the downside, you might want to look for a re-entry around the 10 to 11 or $12 price ranges on RMO Pandy. So that's my suggestion, and that's how I'm going to play the trade alert as well. If it stays below that 10% sell threshold, I'm going to sell it and look for, add it to the watch list for a re-entry. But I still have faith in the company overall, just to address that. All right, BB, going into the stock, like I said, we're looking forward to break above the 1362. If we do and find support, then we're potentially retesting the 2083 but I would like to lower that a little bit because that's such a large gap. I would look forward to trade between the $13.62 and $18 price range due to this gap up and how we broke below it and then found support right back above it and then found support here again before ultimately breaking down and then finding resistance here. So that's why I'm selecting $13.62. If we can break above, find support, then we're potentially going to $18 on the stock. $18 at 13, even if we were to enter now, or let's say we enter above that support level, just to be on the safe side, that would provide a 32% swing on the trade. And then if it were to actually retest the 2083, then we're looking at 53% on the trade alert, or the trade position, I'm sorry. Not a big fan of BB. I haven't done my DD is why, and I haven't. Is BlackBerry back with new partnerships? The company is ready for a closer look. Okay, so I would be. Okay, BlackBerry announces QNX Hypervision 2.2 software to be used in EVs. Might be an EV play here. Bolsters embedded software portfolio for release of QNX Hypervisor 2.2. QNX software will power motional autonomous vehicles. Okay. Leak Tesla's Bitcoin investment. I don't know what that has to do with BB. But looks like they have some good news on the EV play. They're taking the right direction in being a part of the EV play in some form or fashion. I need to do my DD on it even more. Currently, not from when I initially did my trade alert, but in its current state today. And I will add whatever information I have on the stock to our DD database if you want to view that a little bit more in depth. But just looking at it from a trend analysis standpoint, a lot of people might hit this video and say, oh, you're crazy, BB is a $50 or $100 stock and it's going to the moon. I'm analysis, providing an analysis on the trade from where it's currently at. So that's how I'm going to do it moving forward. Look forward to break above $13.62, retest the $18. If you find support above $18, we're going to $20.83 for a potential 50% swing. BNGO. BNGO is current. Did I alert on the stock or just do a review? I don't know if I alerted on it, but I think I did a review. Let me see. Yeah, I never alerted on it. Let me correct myself. I did not alert on BNGO. I did a review on it, and I think I reviewed it Saturday as well. Who wanted to talk about this? Pascal. I started with 300 shares and now I have 75 left. I think it's my best trade so far, letting the rest. I have been in it since 55 cents. Did the 50-50 roll at $70.11 because the buying pressure was just too big. Pascal, if you're still here, I know some viewers dropped off, which this is our last stock, and I understand. And we're going into 2 hours now. I think I discussed this a little bit more thorough on Saturday. If you weren't able to hear that, then I will go back into it a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and leave the analysis I have on. We have new support levels at the 1385. I will look for that to stay above that going into the trading session on Tuesday. Pre-market, once again, see how it performs pre-market, how it opens, if it correlates the same direction. Above the 1385, of course. We're well above the close from Thursday's trading session at about 1160, 1170. So this could pull back to those areas, which based on the horizontal trend line, the diagonal trend line we have set here, that is not impossible. You're in at 75 cents, I believe you said. 55 cents. You can hold this forever. You're so deep in the money, it's crazy. You're up almost, what is that, 2,000% or something crazy? I might be doing my math wrong off the top of my head, but you're deep in the money. I'll just say it there. Let it ride, man. Bingo is fundamentally doing, let's see, why is it breaking out? Bionano Genomics, if I'm saying that correctly. It's a pharma company. Method for solid tumor analysis. So it looks like we could be in a cancer play here. Just a quick analysis of the news that it's released. companies always have issues with showing great financials because of the fact that they dump so much money in development initially, and then all the money that it takes to go through phase 1, 2, 3 clinical trials, and then they find another position where they have to find liquidity to even perform, you know, funding for basically what I'll call deployment, which is manufacturing and distribution, and then sales, and then maturity in the actual products that they're delivering to the market. They analyze genomes. I think I did do some DD on this. Just with everything that I look at, I can't remember everything on it. But thank you for letting me know that. Fundamentally, down 7%, 7.5% year over year EPS. Down negative 33% on operating profit margin, which is expected. Net profit margin is down 47.64%. Not sure if they have any products in their line that they're already delivering to market. If half of their product catalog is on the market while the other half's in development, that makes sense. Let's see if we're seeing any difference quarter over quarter. Not same type of numbers, just a little bit better though. Negative 25 quarter over quarter. And then he wants to look at SNDL before we finish, which is fine. Everybody wants to talk about SNDL, and I don't blame them. I don't mind because I think we're up like 300% on our trade alert from it. Very proud of it. Anyways, back to BNGO. So quarter over quarter, they're actually doing it much better. They're negative 25 EPS, which is okay. Back to my point. But operating profit margins is what stands out the most. It's up 35%, and then their net profit margin is up 39% respectively. Understandable. Current growth rates are below 3-year average. They don't even have a 5-year average listed, so it's kind of hard to tell on that one. But back to the trend, like I said, going into it, we can look back on a further time frame to see if the stock has ever even met these types of price ranges, which it has not, as you can see. It looks like they released some great news back in December 28th. Let me see what is going on here to kind of get a better idea. All right, my news thing does not even go back that far. But looking at 111, COVID-19 host genome ZV consortium identifies structural variants with possible roles in pathogenesis and outcomes in severely level, level 3 COVID-19 patients using Bionano's Sapphire system. That's probably what threw this in the uptrend around the 11th. Let's see where we're at on the 11th. Yeah, you can tell we gapped up and then blew up. I mean, the old levels of resistance became strong levels of support, allowing this stock to continue to perform. Sounds like they're having good results on what they're focused on right now. Bionano highlights COVID-19 host genome. CV, same thing I just said a minute ago. They're trading higher amid the start of the company's 5-day next generation Genomics Symposium. Says consortium identifies structural variants in severe 19. Yep, just reiterating what they already said. They did do a public offering for $1.1 million and of 34 million common shares, which is good. They're able to bring in more liquidity to continue operating. Regains compliance with NASDAQ minimum bid price list requirements. That's great. Now they're listed on the NASDAQ. Day 3, Sapphire complete structural variation analysis in solid tumors, enables discovery of novel diagnostic markers and drug targets. Like, they're just dropping. Like, it's like they got all their news, their information that they wanted to release and just dropped it 2020. And that's pretty good going. That's going to give them a strong year going forward. So to answer your question, I would hold this long term because they're performing so well on the medical front. With all the things that they're coming at different things. They're not necessarily just a COVID-19 play. That's a piece of it. They're doing other things and providing strong results on that. So I don't know where this could stop. To be honest, I don't even have a price target to give it. All I can tell you is to watch how it opens up. And this is shorter term, swing trading thesis. Long-term investment, hold that thing. and let it go. I mean, with things like this on genomes, like that's a whole nother realm for my mental thinking to even provide you with information on it. But this could potentially sit at the $50 and $60 price levels with ease, and once it's able to produce and manufacture all the things that they're delivering to market, then you could see it as a potential Pfizer, you know. So going into it, just hold on to it. I might even place a position on it myself, just because, you know, this is longer term investments for me, but they do offer options on the stock. I would see how it would open. I might buy some options on it going into March or even May. Maybe start with March and build my option contracts up on it to go longer term on the stock because it is performing so well. A lot of people have expectations of it hitting the 15 to 17 based on the amount of option contracts open interest. We're looking at probably a $17 price target in the near future, around March, mid-March that is. So good trade here. Good job getting into it and holding strong. Good job securing your initial investment and profits along the way. I don't blame you. If you see it consolidate at any point in time, I would actually look for a re-entry back into it. We're looking at it potentially the lowest it'll probably come back is $12. So last stock, I have 8 minutes left. I want to go over SNDL. I already have my trend analysis on it because we've been trading the alert. We reviewed the alert on Saturday's video if you want to go back to that conversation. Stock has performed very well. I can go over the trade review for Gary because I don't think he was a part of our community at that time. SNDL, we initially alerted on the stock back in December 22nd when it was still at 52 cents. It had currently completed consolidation from a 60-cent breakout after the company announced paying off debt, making the company debt free. I wanted to go back over that to make this point. The company is now operating debt free. Okay. That's everything. Just like one of the other companies that did their offering, I think it was LSPD, or we just recently discussed, they did a direct offering, 15 million above what they needed in order to become debt free for the rest of the year. So all of their, they may take on some losses, but they're not adding it to the losses they already have. This company, SNDL, is already debt free. I've already done a fundamental analysis on it. It's better positioned than TLRY. I have to compare it to HUGE and OGI. And then ACB is just out of the picture for me. They have poor management. I would not invest in that company with anything I have. If anything, I would probably short it on calls. I mean put options. Because they're just poor management. They had to do a reverse stock split to even stay listed, like a whole bunch of things. And that's the only reason they're at the price point that they're at, is because they bought back shares in order to have a higher stock price to stay listed in the stock market. Anyways, so SNDL, as you can see, broke out due to this Wall Street's bet phenomenon that occurred. And a lot of retail investors started showing high interest in it, causing a lot of volatility. The stock broke out to 396, but I think its high was actually at 486. It essentially provided 832% on the initial trade alert from December 22nd for us. It's still currently sitting at 278% on the trade. As you can see, looking at it from a 4-hour standpoint, or even we have our 4 hours already built, but I would actually not mind redoing it because I'm seeing some errors with it. So let me go ahead and start from scratch with it. I'm going to remove our drawings. I'm going to bring it back in. I'm going to take that out, go on the 4 hour, and let's start from there. Gary, just so you can analyze these trades from scratch, it's practice makes perfect. So that's why we constantly do this over and over again. And we constantly see the same repetitions occur over and over again. I'm not even really sure where I want to lay my levels of resistance. Of course, this is our high level of resistance. I would probably have to go in a shorter time frame because of the way this broke out to identify lower levels of resistance. But it's only up to 469, so that shouldn't be too hard. It's not like we have a very wide price range to build here. The close is actually a new level of support for the stock. Just based off of where it's currently landed, since I can't identify a previous level of resistance. But I'm sure if we go into the 1 hour, we might see some, like boom right there. Let's identify that. And then this is a level of support now, so I'm going to identify that as well. And actually, I might be interested in putting a level of resistance here just for previous, reference on where it traded previously. And actually, I will, because as you can see right here, the stock dropped down and actually hit those levels, or attempted to hit the 173s again. So we're currently trading at 204. What I assume is going to occur once all this retail investors get out of the way for us. As you can see, the EMA is consolidating. I'm looking for it to break up. If it breaks up, I will be buying calls going into this week. As you can see, the volume profile starting to stick out here, where we're finding a lot of transaction trades happen right at this price level. So people are actually starting to load up on it. You see the buying volume spike here, although there was a followed by a selling spike. It's pretty much relative to each other moving forward to overall end Friday session with large buying into the stock around these $2 to 206 price levels. So if you're not currently in the stock, this is an opportunity to get in the stock. I do have faith that the stock is going to continue to the upside, just based off its company's performance, the fact that it's debt free, and I would like to go into some DD to see if there's some more partnerships on the company with other businesses. I think it was Tilray and APHA that are doing their merger. Let me see if we got anything that sticks out. I don't even see anything that sticks out right now, but I will add any DD to the due diligence database at Millennial Investments that everybody that's a member should have access to. If you have questions about that, I have a link for the tutorial to access that information, to access the DD I will be providing. With SNDL, I have a price target of potentially, I want to identify another level that I want to look at. Once the stock consolidated here, you see we found resistance here at the 311. Even if we got into the stock at the 206 price ranges right now, or 204 is where it's currently sitting at, and hit the 311, you're looking at a potential 52% swing. If we're able to break above that and go to the 368, we could potentially look at a 80% swing. Okay? And those are levels we need to watch for. I would watch for this one. I want to turn this one orange, because this one is key. Right here at the 368. Reason being is because on the uptrend it found resistance, and then on the downtrend it tried to reverse and found resistance there. We still need to identify it, but this is more important to me than that is because of that. Okay, going into next week, and even these lower levels of resistance that it may have ran into. But you got to account for the fact that a horde of retail investors came in here just because somebody in a group said, hey, this is what we're targeting now that the GameStop and the AMC trend is all over with. So moving forward, we should be safe and more comfortable with being able to buy this and not be so concerned about risks, and especially the fact that we spent an entire trading session trading sideways and picking up most of the transactions throughout the entire trade history of this stock apparently, and finding these support levels, these new support levels. So this would be a great time to buy $1, $2 calls on the stock, placing equity stakes in the position, using the options to justify and offer free equity stake into it. If Gary, I know you're not familiar with this, so maybe you can follow my lead. Now that you're getting your premium membership, you will get our weekly trade alerts on our weekly option trade alerts. So this is most likely going to be one, along with BLNK for sure, and Bingo potentially, and Nio. So be looking for option trades on that. If you need help with that, I will get with you on the side to see what platform you're trading with. I think it's Webull you selected. I'm not familiar with Webull, but if I have to open a Webull account just to assist everybody, then I will. But this is a good entry point for SNDL. I think it's a better play than any others because of the low price point that it is. Like TLRY is currently like, I think TLRY is like still $40 or $30 or something like that. Let me look. 29. Okay. Once again, another great entry for TLRY. I'm not saying it's not a good stock to get in. They have a partnership going on, which is going to expand their capacity in manufacturing and delivering and supply and stuff like that. Larger companies come with larger weight. So you got to consider your risk to reward ratio, which is if I buy a stock of TLRY, it's at $29. it could fall $28. If I buy a stock in SNDL, it can fall $2. Although it does open up the risk side, but you have to look at it from the standpoint too. If I put $100 on TLRY right now, I'd only get about 4 shares. If I put the same $100 on SNDL, and I would get about 50 shares, and it has a lower level to fall. So, 5% is what, 2.5 cents that it, or 25 cents that it drops, or I might be doing that wrong, but still, what I'm trying to convey is that it has a lower risk level than say a TLRY or ACB, which I don't even like to begin with, or a huge, which is like $6, I think, and OGI is currently $282 on HUGE and $380 on OGI. I'd have to do fundamentals on OGI and HUGE to determine how well they compare to SNDL, but I don't think TDA or Thinkorswim provided that information, which is why I didn't compare the two. I just know I was able to compare TLRY to SNDL. SNDL had a better balance sheet. So that's my pick, is SNDL if you're going to go with a we play, long-term stock. You get shorter term returns now, which allows you to lower your initial investment risk, allowing for your profits to continue making you money, even if it leaves some of the initial investment in the stock. To basically gain some free trades now and then hold the company long term. It doesn't take much for a small stock like this to bounce high. And as you can see, we're up 832% from our initial trade alert. So seeing the way that we stock's gonna play into the next 4 years with the Biden administration, you can see this stock continuing to go higher and higher and higher. If you look at it from the weekly time frame, I mean, it's seen from IPOs at $13. And I think I went through and actually identified in previous videos like $9, just looking at it from the weekly as another key level that we could potentially hit above the 469 levels. If we get above 469 again and find support, then yeah, we're going to $9. So just look at it from that standpoint. You're looking at a 400% gain even where it's at. Probably like 420, which is crazy. I'm not sure how long that's going to take. Of course, you can see we're starting to round up on the EMAs. This is 13 weeks. This is 34 and 55 weeks, and it's starting to compress and round up, allowing for the stock to fly. So hitting 469 again is not hard, and then eventually finding support above that to hit $9 flat is not hard as well. But to wrap that up, I'm glad we were able to go over everybody's trades. I looked at least doing this for 2 hours, and we were able to allot enough time for everybody's trades. I was not able to go over any of our trade updates. I will just have to spend time doing that this week, as updating them one by one, or I might do a long video and then do chapters in it so you can review all the trades over the course of this week and kind of give full updates on all of them throughout the week. Or I'll figure something out, but I need to update all of the trades. Of course, any of the ones that are not working, I will let you know to lower risk, but if they're performing, I'm currently letting them go and continue doing their thing, because I'm currently working on development for the mobile app to deliver this information to you a lot easier. I'm working on the communities to build them at the same time, and also I'm still managing the website to continue providing information on the current system that we're using, and then also providing any support for any issues. So I'm pretty bogged down with actually trading myself as a person, and then providing the trade information, and then providing the platform, and then growing the platform. So whatever help I can get from anybody by just simply sharing the information with other people that are in investing and may be interested. We have free memberships for a reason, to allow everybody to have a new home at Millennial Investments. YouTube can provide us with additional passive income to help fund new developments in the platform itself. The only thing money from the memberships goes to is development for new add-ons, such as push notifications, SMS texts, our automation system, which allows me to develop more, just allotment of things that we have planned to add into it. New APIs is another thing, a big thing that is the website relies on, so we also have a referral program. I want to let everybody know about that. You can look at our referral program. I'm not going to put that information out here. I will put it in our closed groups that we currently have. Some of y'all already are aware of that information, that if you refer members, then you get a percentage of that that membership every month. I'm willing to share what we make together, if that makes sense. As long as you are sharing that information and helping me build this, I'm more than willing to give you a piece of that. And I believe this platform will grow to exponential growth rates once it is exposed to the markets and everybody's aware of it, and the fact that we have a home for everybody, whether they're a paid membership or not. The paid membership is for the work that we provide for guidance that people that need it, and that's the focus here, is finding opportunities and optimizing the money we have now to continue to grow and be richer than we were yesterday. So that's what it's about, man. It's about building a home and a place for everybody to enjoy. So if you can help contribute to that, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell on this YouTube channel to receive our notifications about our coffee and stock sessions. We will be holding them every Saturday. Be sure to tune in for our daily free trade alerts, for our trade reviews, daily free trade alerts, and then our trade reviews on the alerts that we have given. I will look at doing segments on stocks that people may ask me about. I might, gather a list throughout the week, and then do it on our coffee and stock session on that Saturday, and have everybody tune in and discuss the trades until we start picking up more and more traffic on the YouTube channel. We just hit 100 subscribers. I want to thank everybody. We've only been doing this like 2-3 weeks maybe, and we already have 100 subscribers. Like, that might not be much to anybody, but I'm not a YouTube personality. I've never been on here, and the fact that we're making the progress we're making is like, okay, great. I appreciate the support. So, continue providing that support. I truly appreciate you guys for watching today. The market's closed. We didn't have anything else to do. I'm snowed in anyway, so I'm going to be here looking at trades moving forward, optimizing the system, providing a better platform for us. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you want to connect with us on other social media channels, that's also in the comments below. If you don't currently have a membership and you're a new viewer, that's in the comments below. I mean, the descriptions below. Let me correct myself. Other than that, man, we're 7-8 minutes over the time I had allotted for today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and get back to what I had planned for the rest of the day. But otherwise, I'm glad for the people that came. Thank you for your support. I'm glad we were able to assist you in your trades that you're looking at. I hope they do well for you based on the information we provided you. If you have any more questions about anything else, feel free to put that in the comments below. Like I said, any research that I said I would provide, I will do my best to add that in the comments below. But also, I will most definitely be trying to put it in our due diligence database with the time that I may find over the next few days. So, it's just me right now until the trading team's able to be integrated into the system we have to help, manage this a little bit better. So, if you can bear with me as we grow, it's taking its steps. So I'm glad everybody was here. I hope everybody has a wonderful trading week. Think smart. Quit following these crowds. If you have questions, feel free to ask me or the trading team before making decisions, just to get advice, not to say yes or no on anything, But thank you for watching, everybody. I hope y'all have a great day, a great week. I hope we all make some money this week and have an all green week. If you have any questions,